A tiny date difference could make a Lincoln penny one of the most talked about coins among collectors. Most people never notice the difference between a 1982 small date and a 1982 large date penny. But collectors keep checking every 1982 penny they find, hoping to spot the right variety. Search your old pennies before you spend them. You might already have the coin everyone's looking for. Like and subscribe for more hidden coin discoveries. The 1972 Lincoln cent is one of those coins that can sit unnoticed in an old jar, a desk drawer, or a family collection for decades. At first glance, it looks like an ordinary copper penny, Abraham Lincoln on the front, the Lincoln Memorial on the back, and a date that seems completely normal. But some 1972 pennies carry a detail so dramatic that collectors can spot it with a simple magnifying glass. This is the famous 1972 Lincoln cent double die obverse, one of the best-known modern Lincoln penny varieties. It was not created because someone damaged the coin after it left the mint. It was created before the coin was ever struck, during the preparation of the die itself. In 1972, the United States was going through a period of political and economic change. Inflation was becoming a growing concern, the country was still dealing with the effects of the Vietnam era, and President Richard Nixon was in office. Yet millions of Lincoln cents continued moving through banks, stores, vending machines, and pockets across America. Most of those pennies were ordinary. But a small number carried an unusual doubling in the design, and that small mistake created one of the most collectible Lincoln cent varieties of the era. The 1972 Lincoln cent belongs to the Lincoln Memorial series. On the obverse, or front, is the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner. You also see the words "In God We Trust" across the top, Liberty on the left, and the date 1972 on the right. On the reverse is the Lincoln Memorial, designed by Frank Gasparo. If you look closely at a sharply struck example, you can even see the tiny statue of Lincoln sitting inside the memorial. A normal 1972 Lincoln cent is made of 95% copper and 5% zinc. Its official weight is about 3.11 grams. That weight is important because it helps confirm that the coin has the normal bronze composition for its year. However, unlike some transition year pennies, weight is not the main key to finding the valuable 1972 variety. A normal 1972 penny and a rare 1972 double die obverse penny should both weigh close to 3.11 grams. The real secret is hidden in the lettering. Look closely at the word Liberty. Then inspect "In God We Trust." Finally, study the date. On a genuine 1972 double die obverse cent, the letters and numbers show clear, bold duplication. The doubling is not just a faint shadow. It looks like parts of the design were impressed twice, slightly apart from each other. This is especially noticeable in Liberty and in the letters of "In God We Trust." The variety most collectors search for is known as the 1972 double die obverse FS101. It is one of the strongest and most famous double dies in the Lincoln cent series. But this is where many people make a mistake. Not every blurry letter means you have a rare double die. Many pennies show something called machine doubling. Machine doubling can happen during the striking process when there is slight movement between the die and the coin. It often looks flat, shelf-like, and weak. It may create a thin extra edge around letters or numbers, but it usually has little collector value. A true double die is different. A true double die begins with the die itself. Before millions of coins are struck, the mint prepares dies that carry the design. If the design is transferred onto the die more than once in a slightly misaligned position, that doubling becomes part of the die permanently. Every coin struck from that die can show the same doubled design. That is why a true 1972 double die obverse is so important. It is not random damage. It is evidence of a production mistake that happened before the coin entered circulation. A regular 1972 penny may be worth only face value if it is worn and circulated. Even a bright uncirculated example may only bring a modest premium unless it has a special variety or exceptional grade. But an authentic 1972 double die obverse can be worth much more. The value depends on several things: how strong the doubling is, whether the coin has been cleaned, how much original red color remains, whether it has circulated, and whether it has been certified by a respected grading company. Collectors often describe copper coins using color designations such as brown, and red. A brown coin has darkened with age. A red-brown coin still shows some original mint color. A red coin keeps much of its original bright copper appearance. The rarest and most valuable examples are usually those that remain in high mint state condition with strong original red color. One exceptional certified 1972 double-die obverse penny sold for about $14,400. That kind of result shows why collectors pay close attention to this date. But it does not mean every 1972 penny is worth thousands of dollars. The value range of $40,420 to $122,500 should not be applied to an ordinary 1972 cent. A coin would need to be an extraordinary rarity, a major error, a top population certified piece, or something almost unique to approach that level. Most 1972 pennies are still common. The real treasure is the combination of a genuine, doubled die, strong visible doubling, excellent condition, original surfaces, and professional authentication. There are also other possible errors to watch for on 1972 cents. An off-center strike can leave part of the design missing and part of the blank planchet visible. A clipped planchet can create a curved missing area where the blank was cut incorrectly. Die cracks can create raised lines across the coin, while larger die breaks can create raised blobs of metal near the rim. But remember one important rule: damage is not the same as a mint error. A penny that was bent, scratched, drilled, burned, corroded, or smashed after leaving the mint is usually just damaged. A real error must show signs that it happened during the actual production process. So when you find a 1972 Lincoln cent, do not rush to spend it. Check Liberty. Check In God We Trust. Check the date. Use a magnifying glass and compare the lettering with a normal example. Then weigh the coin. A normal weight near 3.11 grams is expected for a 1972 copper cent, but the doubling is what truly matters. And never clean the coin. Do not use toothpaste, metal polish, chemicals, or cloth rubbing. Cleaning can leave tiny scratches and remove the natural surface collectors want to see. A coin that might have been valuable can lose much of its appeal after being cleaned. A small doubling in a few letters may not seem important at first. But in the world of rare coins, a tiny shift in a die can turn an ordinary penny into a piece of American minting history. Now let's move to our next coin, because the next Lincoln penny hides a completely different secret, one that may be revealed not by letters, but by its metal and weight. Before we move on, take a close look at any 1982 penny you find. That tiny date, one small letter, and less than a gram of difference can separate an ordinary cent from one of the most talked about modern Lincoln penny varieties. The 1982 Lincoln cent is one of the most important transition year pennies in U.S. coin collecting. Most people see a 1982 penny and assume it is just another old copper-colored coin. But 1982 was the year the United States Mint changed the metal used to make pennies, and that change created several varieties that collectors still search for today. At first glance, every 1982 Lincoln cent looks familiar. On the front is Abraham Lincoln, along with the words "In God We Trust," Liberty, and the date. On the back is the Lincoln Memorial, the design used on cents from 1959 through 2008. But underneath that familiar design is a major difference. Some 1982 cents were made mostly of copper, while others were made mostly of zinc with a thin copper coating. For decades before 1982, Lincoln cents were made from a bronze alloy containing about 95% copper. These older bronze cents weigh about 3.11 grams. But copper became expensive, and producing a 1-cent coin was becoming more costly. During 1982, the mint began switching to a lighter composition made mostly of zinc, coated in copper. These newer cents weigh about 2.50 grams. That weight difference is one of the most important clues in the entire story. A normal bronze 1982 penny should weigh around 3.11 grams. A normal copper-plated zinc 1982 penny should weigh around 2.50 grams. The difference may sound tiny, but for coin collectors it can be the difference between an ordinary cent and a major variety. This is why a small digital scale can be one of the best tools for anyone searching through old coins. You do not need expensive equipment to begin. A scale that measures to at least 1/100th of a gram can help you identify whether your 1982 cent is likely copper or zinc. But remember, weight is only the first step. Dirt, corrosion, wear, and damaged surfaces can affect the reading. A scale can suggest that a coin deserves more attention, but it cannot fully authenticate a rare variety. The year 1982 is especially interesting because the mint produced several combinations of date style, metal composition, and mint mark. There are large date varieties and small date varieties. There are copper versions and zinc versions. There are Philadelphia coins with no mint mark and Denver coins marked with a D. The most famous and heavily searched variety is the 1982 D small date copper cent. This combination matters because Denver was expected to be producing the newer zinc cents by the time small date varieties appeared. A genuine 1982 D small date made from bronze or copper is extremely rare. It is not simply a copper-colored penny. It must have the correct small date style, the Denver mint mark, the correct bronze weight, and professional authentication. The difference between the large date and small date can be difficult to see at first. On the small date variety, the number 8 tends to have a smaller upper loop, while the number 2 has a more curved shape. On the large date, the numbers appear heavier and more angular. This is why collectors often compare coins side by side under magnification. Now imagine how this rare variety may have happened. During the 1982 transition, billions of cent planchets were being processed. Older bronze planchets and newer zinc planchets were both part of the broader production environment. In a situation like that, it is possible for a leftover bronze planchet to enter a production run intended for zinc cents. If that bronze blank reached the dies and was struck with the 1982 D small date design, it could create a coin that should not have existed. That is what makes the rare bronze 1982 D small date cent so fascinating. It is not valuable because it is old. It is valuable because it represents a very specific transitional mistake. Most 1982 pennies are still common. Many are worth only 1 cent in circulation. Some copper examples may be kept by collectors because of their metal content or because they are part of a complete 1982 variety set. But a common 1982 cent, even one that looks bright and clean, should not automatically be treated as a high-value coin. The real value appears when multiple factors come together: the right date style, the right mint mark, the correct weight, the correct metal composition, strong condition, and independent certification. A genuine 1982 D small date bronze cent has attracted serious collector attention. One authenticated example, weighing roughly 3.07 grams, sold for around $18,800. That sale showed just how much collectors are willing to pay for a confirmed transitional variety. But it is important to understand what that price means. It does not mean every 1982 D penny is worth thousands. It means that a rare and authenticated combination can become extremely valuable. The value range of $44,340 to $128,400 should not be applied to ordinary 1982 cents. A coin would need to be an extraordinary rarity, possibly a unique error or a top-grade, fully certified example, before it could approach such a level. Most 1982 pennies do not qualify. There are also other errors worth checking. A struck-through error can happen when grease, cloth, or another object comes between the die and the planchet. An off-center strike occurs when the blank is not properly aligned, leaving part of the design missing. A clipped planchet can show a curved missing section caused during the blanking process. Die cracks and cuts can create raised metal lines or blobs on the coin. But be careful, damage is not an error. A penny that has been bent, scratched, drilled, corroded, or damaged after leaving the mint is usually not rare. A real mint error must show signs that it happened during production, before the coin entered circulation. When you inspect a 1982 penny, begin with the date. Decide whether it appears to be a large date or small date. Then look for a D mint mark below the date. Next, weigh the coin. If it is a 1982 D small date and weighs close to 3.11 grams instead of 2.50 grams, do not clean it and do not spend it. Put it safely aside. Compare it with reliable photos, handle it carefully, and consider professional authentication. Cleaning can permanently reduce a coin's value because it damages the original surface collectors want to see. The 1982 Lincoln cent proves that one of the biggest stories in modern coin collecting can be hidden inside a tiny change in metal composition. A 1-cent coin can carry the evidence of an entire manufacturing transition, and sometimes, one unexpected planchet can turn an ordinary day into a collector's discovery. Now we move to our next coin, because the next Lincoln cent has a completely different secret, and this one may be hiding in a detail that most people never think to inspect. What if the next penny you receive in change looks completely normal, but its weight, edge, or design reveals that it should never have left the mint that way? Now we move to the 2018 Lincoln cent, a modern penny that many people overlook because it does not seem old enough to be collectible. It was made only a few years ago, it still appears in everyday change, and millions of people may have handled one without ever giving it a second look. But modern does not always mean ordinary. A 2018 Lincoln penny can become interesting when it carries an unusual minting error, an unexpected planchet, a dramatic strike, or an exceptional level of preservation. The key is understanding the difference between a normal coin and a genuine rarity. A standard 2018 Lincoln cent has Abraham Lincoln on the front. Above his portrait are the words "In God We Trust." To the left is Liberty, and beneath the date you may see a D mint mark for Denver. Coins from Philadelphia normally have no mint mark in 2018. On the reverse is the Union Shield design, introduced in 2010, with the words 1 cent across a banner. The shield represents the unity of the United States. Its vertical bars symbolize the states joined together under one federal government. It is a modern design, clean and simple, but it can become very important when something unusual happens during production. A normal 2018 penny is made mostly of zinc, covered with a thin layer of copper. Its official weight should be about 2.50 grams. That number is one of the first clues collectors use when checking a coin. If your 2018 penny weighs close to 2.50 grams, that is normal. If it weighs much less, it may have corrosion, damage, missing plating, or metal loss. If it weighs significantly more, it may deserve closer inspection because it could have been struck on the wrong type of blank. This is where the mystery begins. Before a penny becomes a penny, the mint starts with a round metal blank called a planchet. These planchets move quickly through machines, then pass between steel dies that stamp the design into the metal. In a perfect production run, every planchet is the right size, right weight, right metal, and properly centered. But millions of coins are made every year. In a process moving at high speed, small mistakes can happen. A planchet can enter the press out of position. A die can crack. A blank can be clipped during cutting. A foreign object can get between the die and the coin. In extremely rare situations, a blank intended for another denomination can enter the wrong production line. That is when a 1-cent coin can become far more interesting than its face value suggests. One of the most dramatic errors is an off-center strike. This happens when the planchet is not properly positioned between the dies. Instead of receiving the full design in the center, part of the coin may remain blank while the design shifts toward one side. A strong off-center error can be easy to spot. You may see part of Lincoln's portrait missing, letters cut off, or a wide blank area near the edge. The best examples usually keep the date visible, because the date proves exactly when the error occurred. The more dramatic the shift, the more attention the coin may receive from collectors. Another possible error is called a broad strike. Normally, a metal collar holds the planchet in place while it is struck. This collar helps create the correct edge and diameter. If the collar is missing or fails during the strike, the coin can spread outward. The result may look wider than normal, with a softer and more unusual edge. A broad strike can look subtle at first, especially to someone who has never compared coins side by side. But when placed next to a normal 2018 cent, the difference can become obvious. The rare coin may appear wider, flatter, or slightly expanded around the rim. Then there are clipped planchets. A clipped planchet happens before the coin is struck. It occurs when the blank is cut too close to the edge of the metal strip. The finished coin may have a curved missing section, almost like a small bite was taken out of it. But collectors must be careful here, because coins can also be damaged after leaving the mint. A genuine clip usually has specific characteristics caused by the pressure of the strike. The metal near the missing area may show a distinctive distortion. A coin that was simply cut, broken, or damaged outside the mint is not the same thing. Another error type to watch for is a die crack. Dies are made of steel, but after striking huge numbers of coins, they can begin to wear down or fracture. When a die cracks, metal from the planchet flows into that crack during the strike. On the finished coin, the crack appears as a raised line. If the damage to the die becomes larger, it can create a cud. A cud is a raised blob of metal near the edge of the coin, caused by a broken section of the die. These errors can be fascinating because they show the physical stress of the minting process. Some collectors also look for doubled dies. A real doubled die is created during die preparation, before the coin is struck. It can show noticeable doubling in letters, numbers, or parts of the design. But not every blurry letter is a doubled die. Machine doubling is much more common and usually has little value. It often looks flat, shelf-like, and weak. A true doubled die usually has stronger separation and a more natural-looking duplicate image. This is why magnification and comparison with known examples are so important. For a 2018 Lincoln cent, condition also matters. A regular penny that has circulated for years, turned dark, developed scratches, or suffered corrosion may still be worth only 1 cent. But a rare error coin that remains bright, sharp, and uncirculated can be much more desirable. The value range of $15,200 to $66,380 would require something extraordinary, perhaps an extreme, authenticated wrong planchet error, a unique mule, an unusual experimental strike, or a one-of-a-kind certified rarity. A normal 2018 penny does not qualify simply because of its date. So when you inspect a 2018 Lincoln cent, start with the basics. Check the date and mint mark. Look closely at the edge. Compare the size with another penny. Examine the design for missing areas, raised cracks, unusual doubling, or strange metal color. Then weigh it. A normal example should be close to 2.50 grams. Anything far outside that standard deserves more attention, but never assume it is valuable without further research. Do not clean the coin, polish it, scratch it, or try to alter it. Cleaning can permanently damage the surface and reduce collector interest. Sometimes the most interesting coins are not the oldest ones. Sometimes they are the coins that slip through a modern production line carrying a mistake that no one noticed. And now that you know what to look for in a 2018 Lincoln cent, let's move to the next coin, because the next one has a detail that can be even harder to spot, but much more exciting once you find it.